Hello, friends. What's up? I hope that you have enjoyed the festival of Lord Ganesha. And after the break of these 4 or 5 days, now again we have to resume our lectures. So, today I'm going to talk about the paper number 4, the second last term, that is the myth. And I think you have heard about the myth and so many times. So, what is a myth in Marathi? In Marathi, myth means mithak, and I hope that you have a lot of knowledge about myth. If you were face to face, then definitely मुझे काफी अच्छा लगता कि आप इस सवाल का जवाब दे दें. तो चलिए शुरू करते हैं. So first, we are going to start with the definition of myth. So what is myth? So actually, myth is a legendary or a traditional story that usually concern an event or a hero. Okay, keep in your mind that actually legendary is a used the word here used, but actually legend is different and myth is different. For example, if a person who do not have any extraordinary power, or you can say that he has no supernatural power, he is not a actually incarnation of God or son of God or anything. He is like a human being like us, but he did something which actually welfare the society, which actually help the society, or which have rose the society from a very difficult situation. So therefore such a person is called as a legend. For example, in India we can call Bhagat Singh as a legend because he was not a son of God, or he is not an incarnation of God, or he doesn't have a kind of a supernatural power, but whatever he has done for our country, our nation, that work of him is called as a legend. So therefore keep in mind that legend is different, and the word actually here, the adjective here word used as a legendary is different. So keep it in mind. So let's move on to the definition of myth. So myth is a legendary or a traditional story that usually concern an event or a hero, with or without using factual or real explanations. This particular concern demigods or deities and describe some rites, practices, and natural phenomenon. Typically, a myth involves historical events and supernatural beings. There are many types of myths, such as a classical myth, religious myths, and modern myths. So, where actually this myth came from? So I think before going to look that, I think you understood the definition of myth, that how it is the concern with the demigods or deities or rites and practices, nature phenomena. Okay, so let's move to the that where the word myth come to English language. Actually, mythos is a Greek word, and the meaning of mythos is any story or plot, whether true or invented. It is called mythos. Okay, so like a plot or story. So this mythos came to English language, and we have seen the definition. But again, what is myth? A myth is a story in mythology. So what is mythology? Mythology, a story, mythology is a system of hereditary stories of ancient origin which were believed to be true by a particular cultural group. Okay, there are certain kind of stories. For example, the creation of the world, or creation of something evil. Okay, so all these stories, these were the origin stories of how man was born, what is the reason of being of here. So like that, these are the stories, a system of stories which were believed by a particular cultural group. So mythology serve to explain in terms of intentions and actions of deities and other supernatural beings why the world is as it is and things happen as they do, to provide a rationale for social customs and observations, and to establish the sanctions for the rules by which people conduct their lives. So in mythology, it answered to the question that how this world was created, who has created this world. Okay, so all these stories related with the god or gods, we can call them deities, and the birth of any deities and the birth of demons and all these things. So these are, we can say that the supernatural things were there. And again, it also provides some rational social customs. Okay, there are some traditions. Okay, so people were following the traditions, customs, and tradition. So the myth also gives the rational, means the reasons that why this tradition is observing by the people, or why we should observe that tradition. So mythology gives us the explanation. And again, also it also sanctions and establishes some rules in which the people should conduct, people should live their life, they should lead their life. So most of the myths are related with the social rituals, set forms and procedures in sacred ceremonies. So sacred ceremonies म्हणजे धार्मिक विधी जो असतो, त्या धार्मिक विधीमध्ये जी काय प्रोसिजर असते, जे काय पद्धती असते, ज्या प्रकारे तो धार्मिक विधी करायचा असतो, त्या तो जो आहे तो सामाजिक उत्सव असतो आणि त्या सामाजिक उत्साहाशी बरेचसे मिथक जे आहेत ते संबंधित असतात. बट एंथ्रोपोलॉजी डिसएग्री टू वेदर रिच्युअल जनरेटेड मिथ्स और मिथ जनरेशन रिच्युअल. एंथ्रोपोलॉजी म्हणजे मानववंशी शास्त्रज्ञ, एंथ्रोपोलॉजी म्हणजे मानववंशी शास्त्र. So according to anthropologists, they think that whether myths generated rituals or rituals generated myth, that is the question, and they try to solve out it. So, what are characteristic of a myth? So, myth usually features ruling gods, goddesses, deities, and heroes having god-like qualities, but but status lower than gods. Okay, so if you look at the Greek mythology, so Zeus is the king of all the gods, like in Indra in India, who is the king of all gods. Okay, so Zeus, and you can also compare the Indra with the Zeus because all the personalities of Zeus and Indra are very similar. So, so Zeus has a power weapon, that is the light. So likewise, Indra has also power of light, a storm breaker, or you can say that it is like a lighting or a storm. These are the weapons. The force is the weapons of both the Indra and Zeus. And again, there are also Apsaras, okay, nymphs and all these things. So these are the certain stories. And again, you can say that goddesses are there, deities are there, and heroes also, because the son of Zeus, okay, Hercules, you must have known his word, his name Hercules. So Hercules, who is a great demigod who has saved the Greek people. Okay, so the godlike qualities, but their status are lower to the gods. And often the daughter or son of God, such as Percy Jackson, is fully mortal, and these characters have supernatural abilities and powers that raise them above average human beings. So Thor is another god of Greek mythology, who is the god of thunder. So like that, and you have also watched Thor in Avenger movies or the Thor movies or MCU movies. Okay, so they have a supernatural ability and power, and therefore they are super than the normal human beings. So myths are mostly very old and often to have ruled the world when science, philosophy, and technology were not very precise. So as they are today. So in the previous ancient world, science, technology, philosophy was not developed, and therefore myth served to explain the simple things. For example, why sunrise, why night is there, why storm is there, why rain is falling. Okay, all these questions only myth has served to give the answers. So now the science and philosophy and technology giving answers. So therefore people were unaware of certain questions, like why the sky is blue, or why night is dark, or what are the causes of earthquakes. So thus it was myth that explained natural phenomena and described rituals and ceremonies to the people. So let's start with the examples of myths in literature. So first example is from Romeo and Juliet. Romeo and Juliet is one of the popular romantic tragedy written by William Shakespeare. So, Roman and Greeks myth, though originally not available in English, have deeply influenced English works. So, during the times of ancient Greeks, they had a belief that some invisible gods, such as Zeus, had created this world. We read, we read in such a Greek stories that passions for women controlled the gods. In that, there is another god for the passions, Kamadev here इन इंडिया. कामदेव जो आहे तो आपल्या मनातल्या भावना जे आहेत, प्रेमाच्या भावना जो आहे तो जागृत करण्याचं काम कामदेव करतो. त्याच प्रकारे कुपिड नावाचा देव आहे ग्रीकमध्ये, जो माणसाच्या या ज्या भावना आहेत, प्रेमाविषयी भावना, त्याला तो कंट्रोल करण्याचं काम करतो. सो Greek stories and passions for women controlled the gods, and hence gods fought for them. Likewise, Romans had believed in such deities. So, due to the mythological influences, many literary authors refer to Greek and Roman myth in order to add meanings to their work. For instance, Shakespeare in his play Romeo and Juliet uses Greek mythology when Juliet cries out saying that Gallop apath, you fairy footed steeds, towards Fabius lagging. The Phoebus is actually the god of sun. Actually, his another name is Apollo, and Delphi is a city famous for his temple, temple of Phoebus or the Apollo, who is the son of Zeus and who is the god of sun or sun god. So, in Greek mythology, Phoebus was a god of the sun, and here Juliet urges that god to bring him home quickly so that night could come and she may meet her lover Romeo. So actually, she wanted to meet her lover, that is Romeo, and therefore she was urging Sun to please sit down. So therefore, night will come and Romeo will come and she will she will meet him. So next example is from the William Butler Yeats, that is W.B. Yeats poem No Second Try. So actually, you must have heard about Homer. Homer has written one epic, and the name of that epic is Odysseus. So in the Odysseus, you must have heard that um, actually Troy was in Turkey, nowadays Turkey, and Athens in the Greek. Okay, they are very near. Only the Mediterranean Sea is there, and they were very near. And in that Helen, who was the a very beautiful, world's beautiful woman, and she was eloped with the Paris, who was the prince of Troy. So Helen was one of the most beautiful women, and actually she was eloped with Paris, who was the prince of Troy. So in another Greek myth, Greeks devastated the city of Troy. They have burned the city of Troy in an outburst of the Trojan War, when Helen, the wife of King Menelaus, ran away with the prince of Troy, that is the Paris. Apparently, Helen was a very beautiful woman from Greece and was ultimately held responsible for the devastation of Troy. So she was responsible for the destruction of Troy. So Yeats also tried to use this Greek mythology in his poem No Second Try. Actually, he loves Helen. Actually, Helen, it is not from the Greek mythology. So Helen was an Irish woman, and she was a political leader of Ireland. And W.B. Yeats was also Irishman, and they were fighting to get freedom from Great Britain. That is the Great Britain. They wanted to separate their country. Now you can see that Ireland is a separated sovereign country, sovereign nation. So, but it was the colony of Great Britain. So that time, Helen, Yeats, and other people, they were fighting to get freedom from the Great Britain. Okay. So here, in the poem No Second Try, by creating a similarity between Helen and Maud Gonne, he also found a similarity between the Trojan War and revolutionary and anti-British activities of the Irish. Just like Helen, it's blamed and held Maud. So Maud was that person whom Helen actually loved and Helen married. And actually, Yeats was loving Helen and he has proposed her, but she has rejected his proposal. Okay, and therefore W.B. Yeats became the greatest poet. So here he was blaming both the Helen and Maud Gonne. So just like Helen, it's blamed and held Maud responsible for creating hatred in the hearts of Irishmen, and consequently they caused destruction and bloodshed. So let's look at the last example, that is the Paradise Lost. It is the greatest epic written by John Milton, and it was published in 1967. So, biblical stories and myths have also played an important role in shaping English literary works. John Milton, in his poem Paradise Lost, Paradox, he has written in 12 parts, 12 books, or 12 volumes, plays out the Genesis story about the fall of man. So, in the Bible, if you read the Holy Bible, so the very first chapter is Genesis. So, in the Genesis, actually, it is the story of creation of the world and creation of the man. So, and also it is the story of fall of man, the first sin which was done by Eve and Adam, and therefore the God has made such kind of a things, all these things, okay, and therefore we are on the earth. We lost the paradise, and death is there, and lot of sorrows and pains are there. ये कोरोना वायरस भी इसकी वजह से भाई, अगर वो एडम एंड यू अगर वो फर्स्ट पाप नहीं करते तो वही रहते स्वर्ग में, बस दोनों ही और हम तो यहाँ पे नहीं होते, तो उनकी गलती की वजह से हम यहाँ पे। हम्म, ठीक है। सो एक्चुअली द फॉल ऑफ मैन एंड सब्सिक्वेंट eviction from the Garden of Eden. So both John Steinbeck and William Golding, in their respective novels East of Eden and Lord of Lies, played on the same idea, in which they have presented Eve as a seducer responsible for bringing sin into this world. So actually, John Milton, John Steinbeck, and William Golding, all these men पुरुष सत्ताक कुटुंब पद्धती आणि पुरुष सत्ताक कुटुंब पद्धतीमुळे जे काही गोष्टी घडतात, वाईट गोष्टी होतात, त्या फक्त स्त्रियांमुळे होतात. हे धर्मग्रंथातून हे आलेलं आहे बघा, बायबलमधून आलेलं आहे. आणि they are holding Eve as a responsible for bringing sin in this world. And we can clearly see this allusion in medieval literature. We have also seen that many feminist literary critics of the 20th century have made use of this myth in their research. आणि म्हणून कशा प्रकारे स्त्रियांची सेकंड पोझिशन या समाजामध्ये कशी निर्माण झाली, या संदर्भात जे काय 20व्या शतकातील ज्या स्त्रीवादी ज्या काय समीक्षक होत्या, ज्या लेखिका होत्या, त्यांनी याला एक रिसर्च माध्यम करून कशा प्रकारे त्यांचं जे पुरुषसत्ताक कुटुंबपद्धतीमध्ये स्त्रियांचं दुय्यम स्थान कसं आहे त्यांनी शोधून काढलं. आणि हे आपण पुढच्या सेमिस्टरमध्ये अधिक डिटेलमध्ये हे बघणार आहोत. So let's start with the last part of this video of this lecture, that is the function of myth. What is the function of myth? So myth exist in every society and they are basic elements of human culture. The main function of myth is to teach moral lessons and explain historical events. Authors of great literary works have often taken their stories and themes from myths. So myths and their mythological symbols lead to creatively in literary works. We can understand a culture more deeply and in a much better way by knowing and appreciating its stories, trends, men, and myths. Myth came before religion, and all religious stories are in fact retelling of global mythical themes. Beside literature, myth also play a great role in science, psychology, and philosophy. So thank you for watching.